The night air smelled of dust, fuel, and burned metal. Tracer rounds ripped across the ridgeline like angry comets, tearing through the darkness and slamming into the rocks above the pinned-down Navy SEAL platoon. Every impact sent shards of stone raining down on them. Radios crackled with static. Blood mixed with dirt. Time slowed to a crawl. They were surrounded. Lieutenant Mark Hale pressed his helmet against the ground, breathing hard, forcing his mind to stay clear. He had been in firefights before, Fallujah, Kandahar, places where death felt like a constant shadow, but this was different. This was a textbook ambush, perfectly executed. No air support, the radio operator shouted. Command says weather's too heavy. Birds are grounded. Hale closed his eyes for half a second. No air support meant no extraction. No extraction meant they had to fight their way out, or die trying. Around him, SEAL Team Viper did what they were trained to do. They returned fire with discipline, conserving ammo, covering angles, protecting the wounded. These men were professionals, legends in the making, but even legends had limits. And tonight, the enemy had all the advantages. High ground, numbers, surprise. Then Hale heard a sound that didn't belong. A low, distant growl, almost like thunder. He looked up. At first, he thought it was his imagination. Then the sound grew louder, deeper, unmistakable. A jet engine. The radio crackled again. Unknown aircraft entering airspace, the operator said, disbelief in his voice. Wait. Transponder ID, A-10 Thunderbolt 2. Hale's heart slammed against his ribs. That bird isn't supposed to be here, someone muttered. The A-10, nicknamed the Warthog, was an ugly beast. Slow, loud, built like a flying tank. In an era of stealth fighters and hypersonic missiles, many considered it outdated. And the pilot flying it, even more underestimated. Earlier that day, Captain Elena, Valkyrie, crew stood at attention as the base commander paced in front of her. She could feel their eyes on her. The whispers, the judgment, a woman, a pilot, an A-10 driver. Some people still thought that combination didn't belong in combat. You're not cleared for this mission, the commander said sharply. Intel says heavy anti-air presence. This is not a job for a Warthog. Elena didn't flinch. With respect, sir, she replied evenly, that team on the ground is running out of time. The A-10 was built for exactly this kind of fight. The commander scoffed. This isn't a movie, Captain. We can't afford to lose an aircraft, or a pilot, on a suicide run. Elena's jaw tightened. She had heard this before. Too slow, too exposed, too emotional, too much of a risk. She had also heard it when she first joined flight school. When she chose close air support instead of flashy fighters. When she refused desk jobs and promotions that pulled her away from combat. She didn't fly for glory. She flew for the people on the ground. Sir, she said quietly, with all due respect, they're already dying. Silence filled the room. The commander stopped pacing. Then, reluctantly, he exhaled. You have 5 minutes. One pass. If it goes bad, you pull out. Elena saluted. That's all I need. The battlefield. The enemy never heard her coming. The A-10 burst through the clouds like a steel predator, flying dangerously low, hugging the terrain. Elena's hands were steady on the controls, her eyes scanning the battlefield below. She saw them instantly. The SEALs, trapped in a kill zone. She saw muzzle flashes, rocket trails, enemy positions dug into the hillside. Her targeting computer lit up. Viper team, she transmitted. This is Valkyrie. Mark your smoke. Green smoke erupted near the SEAL position. Elena smiled grimly. Copy that. Hang on. She lined up the run. And pulled the trigger. The GAU-8 Avenger cannon roared to life. BRRRRRT. The sound was biblical. Rounds the size of soda cans ripped through enemy positions, shredding armor, tearing apart bunkers, turning the hillside into a storm of fire and steel. The recoil shook the aircraft, but Elena held it steady, riding the chaos like a force of nature. Explosions followed. Enemy fire vanished. The SEALs stared in disbelief as the impossible happened. The battlefield shifted. Momentum changed. Hope returned. Elena pulled up hard, banking sharply to avoid return fire, then came around for a second pass. Valkyrie, you're cleared hot, Hale shouted into the radio, adrenaline surging. Already am, she replied. She made 3 runs, each one precise, each one devastating. When she finally climbed back into the clouds, the enemy was gone, or dead. On the ground, SEAL Team Viper stood in stunned silence. They had just witnessed a legend being born. Aftermath. Back at base, Elena shut down the engines and climbed out of the cockpit. She expected reprimands, paperwork, possibly a career-ending lecture. Instead, she was met by silence. Then applause. SEAL operators, pilots, mechanics, officers, men who had spent their lives in war zones. They stood and clapped. Lieutenant Hale approached her, helmet under his arm, face streaked with dirt and dried blood. "You saved my team," he said simply. Elena nodded. "That's the job." Hale studied her for a moment. Then he smiled. Wrong person to underestimate. The incident. Weeks later, in a forward operating base far from home, Elena learned another lesson about respect. She was in uniform, off-duty, passing through the barracks corridor when it happened. 2 contractors. Drunk, loud, arrogant. One of them laughed when he saw her. "A pilot, huh?" he sneered. "Didn't know they let you people wear that uniform." Before she could react, the other grabbed her sleeve. Ripped it. The room went silent. Every SEAL within sight froze. Elena didn't move. She didn't scream. She didn't strike. She simply stood there. Behind the contractors, a shadow shifted. A Navy SEAL stepped forward. Then another. Then 5 more. One move. That's all it took. The lead SEAL disarmed the man so fast it barely registered, twisting the wrist, dropping him to the floor, weapon stripped and secured before anyone could blink. The second contractor tried to run. He didn't make it 3 steps. They were restrained, detained, removed. No shouting, no unnecessary force, just absolute control. The SEAL leader turned to Elena. "You okay, ma'am?" She nodded. "Thank you." He shook his head. "No," he said. "Thank you for coming back for us." Legacy. Stories spread fast in the military. About the A-10 pilot who defied orders and saved a trapped SEAL team. About the woman who never raised her voice, but commanded respect through action. About how elite warriors protect their own. Her callsign became legend. Valkyrie, a symbol of death to the enemy, and salvation to those on the ground. In classified reports, her name was redacted. In mess halls and barracks, her story lived on. A reminder that courage doesn't always look the way people expect. That heroes come in many forms. And that sometimes, the most dangerous mistake you can make is underestimating the wrong person. The desert never truly slept. Even at night, the forward operating base hummed with life, generators growling, radios murmuring, boots scraping against concrete. Shadows stretched long beneath floodlights, and somewhere beyond the wire, the enemy watched and waited. Captain Elena, Valkyrie, Cruz sat alone on an ammo crate outside the hangar, helmet resting beside her. The applause, the gratitude, the quiet nods of respect, those moments had passed. What remained was the weight. Saving lives always came with a cost. She stared at the A-10 parked in front of her. Scarred, patched, alive, just like her. A voice broke the silence. "You ever sleep?" She turned. Lieutenant Mark Hale stood there, hands in his pockets, rifle slung casually over his shoulder. His team had rotated back to the base after 3 days in the field. They looked different now, quieter, sharper, bound by something deeper than before. "Pilots sleep when the mission allows," Elena replied. Hale smiled faintly. "Figures." He hesitated, then sat on a crate opposite her. "I read the report," he said. "Command wasn't happy." Elena exhaled. "Command is never happy. You violated airspace restrictions, ignored weather protocols, took a bird into a missile envelope alone." She met his eyes. And you saved 17 operators who would have been body bags by morning." They sat in silence again. Then Hale spoke softly. "You know what scares people like that admiral back at HQ?" Elena didn't answer. "They can't control you," he continued. "You don't fit the narrative. You're not supposed to exist." She looked down at her hands. They were steady, but she remembered times they hadn't been. Early missions, first kills, first losses. "I exist because people on the ground need someone who won't hesitate," she said. Hale nodded. "That's why my team trusts you more than any drone or satellite." The new mission. 2 days later, everything changed. A classified briefing. Sealed doors. Phones locked away. Elena entered the room and instantly felt it. The tension, thick and sharp. SEAL commanders. Intelligence officers. A Marine colonel. Even a man from the Pentagon whose rank was deliberately vague. A satellite image lit up the screen. A compound. Remote. Heavily fortified. "This is Black Ridge," the intel officer said. "High-value target inside. Former Special Operations Advisor turned warlord. Responsible for multiple ambushes, including the one that pinned down Viper team." Hale stiffened. "Eliminating him won't be simple," the officer continued. "He's protected by terrain, early warning systems, and a private militia trained in counter-sniper tactics." The Pentagon man finally spoke. "We need a ghost operation. No flags, no signatures." Eyes turned toward the SEALs. Then, to Elena, "The team goes in on foot," the man said. "But they'll need air cover. Close, precise, someone willing to fly low and dirty." The room went quiet. Elena already knew the answer. "Denied," the Marine colonel said suddenly. "She's too valuable. We can't risk Valkyrie again." Elena stood. "With respect, sir," she said calmly, "you don't send a blade into the dark without a steady hand guiding it." Hale spoke up. "My team wants her." The colonel frowned. "This isn't a popularity contest." "No," Hale replied, "it's survival." The Pentagon man studied Elena for a long moment. "Captain Cruz," he said, "if this goes sideways, you won't exist on paper. No rescue, no acknowledgement." Elena didn't hesitate. "Then let's make sure it doesn't go sideways." Into the shadows. The insertion was silent. SEALs moved like ghosts across the rocky terrain, night vision goggles painting the world in shades of green. Elena circled high above, engines throttled low, sensors alive. She watched their heartbeats on her screen. Every spike, every pause. "Valkyrie," Hale whispered over comms. "We're approaching the outer perimeter." "Copy," she replied. "I've got eyes on thermal signatures. Multiple patrols." She guided them through danger inch by inch, marking blind spots, timing movements, warning them seconds before patrols crossed their path. They reached the compound wall. Then everything went wrong. An alarm blared. Gunfire erupted. "They knew we were coming," Hale growled. Enemy forces poured out from hidden tunnels. Heavy weapons. Coordinated fire. "Valkyrie," Hale said, urgency cutting through discipline. "We're compromised." Elena's jaw tightened. "Hold fast," she replied. "I'm coming down." "Negative," command barked over a different channel. "You're too low. Abort." She cut the transmission. The A-10 dropped beneath the cloud layer, flares firing, warnings screaming in her cockpit. "Missile lock." She ignored it. "Mark targets," she ordered. Smoke bloomed. BRRRRRT. Fire tore through the compound walls. Enemy vehicles vanished in explosions. The SEALs surged forward, using the chaos as cover. A missile streaked past her wing. The jet shuddered. Warning lights flashed red. "Elena," Hale shouted. "You're hit." "I know," she said through clenched teeth. "Finish the mission." The SEALs breached the main building. Minutes felt like hours. Then Hale's voice returned. Low, controlled. "Target down." Elena exhaled. But the A-10 was failing. Fuel leaking. Controls sluggish. She guided the aircraft away from the battlefield, fighting gravity, fighting pain, fighting the odds, just like she always had. After, she crash-landed 50 miles away. Rescue teams arrived at dawn. When Elena woke up in the medical tent, she found Hale standing beside her bed. "You should be dead," he said quietly. She smirked weakly. "Disappointing, isn't it?" He shook his head, emotion breaking through the armor. "You're a force multiplier," he said. "Not just for missions, but for people." Word of the operation never reached the public. Officially, it never happened. Unofficially, it became legend. Among SEALs, among pilots, among those who understood what it meant to stand between chaos and the people who couldn't defend themselves. And somewhere deep in the system, even the admirals began to whisper her callsign with something new in their voices. Not doubt, not dismissal, but respect. If you want to see even better stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment, and press the bell icon for more updates.